Look at a map of the Middle East today, and you'll see a country ringed by United States military forces and allied bases. This physical encirclement is matched by decades of heavy sanctions, designed to block the nation's access to the global economy. Yet, despite being outgunned and financially isolated, Tehran successfully projects power across the region. They influence foreign governments, arm distant militias, and dictate the terms of engagement across multiple borders. How did decades of continuous American military pressure and economic warfare inadvertently forge Iran into a master of asymmetric warfare? In the early 1950s, Iran was a progressive democracy holding regular elections. The country possessed massive natural wealth, but almost all the profits from its oil were flowing directly to the British government through the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. In 1951, a nationalist prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh moved to reclaim his nation's economic sovereignty. He nationalized Iran's oil fields, seeking to keep that revenue within his own borders. Britain refused to lose its monopoly and turned to the United States for help. Together, the CIA and British intelligence orchestrated Operation Ajax. They flooded the streets of Tehran with hired thugs and organized a military coup that violently overthrew Mossadegh's government. In his place, they installed a pro-Western monarch, the Shah. He opened the country's resources back up to Western companies and maintained power through the Savak, a CIA-trained secret police force that used imprisonment and torture to suppress dissent for the next 25 years. That single covert operation established a deep historical trauma. It proved to many Iranians that foreign powers would prioritize their own regional interests over Iran's autonomy. By 1979, the Iranian public reached a breaking point. A massive anti-colonial movement took to the streets. Leftists, nationalists, and religious factions united to expel the Shah and purge Western influence from the country. Ayatollah Khomeini quickly seized control of the revolution's momentum. He replaced the monarchy with a strict, anti-Western theocratic state, centralizing power under religious leadership. Later that year, Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. From their perspective, the embassy was a CIA command post. Seizing it was viewed as a preemptive strike to stop America from orchestrating another coup like the one in 1953. The events of 1979 rewired Iranian foreign policy around a single premise: the West will never accept an independent Iran. For Tehran, active resistance became the only perceived path to survival. Just a year later, neighboring Iraq invaded. The United States saw an opportunity to contain the new Iranian revolution and decided to back the Iraqi dictator, Saddam Hussein. Washington provided Baghdad with satellite intelligence and dual-use technology. When Iraqi forces deployed chemical weapons against Iranian troops, the United States actively lobbied the United Nations to avoid condemning the attacks. The 8-year conflict claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. For Iranian leadership, it proved that international law would offer them no protection when their sovereignty was violated. Iran learned a harsh lesson from this bloodshed. They could not win a direct conventional war against a Western-backed power.
Therefore, they needed a totally different strategy. Iran exported its revolutionary ideology, building networks of unconventional proxy militias, like Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. These groups create a military bridge, serving as a decentralized first line of defense to deter direct attacks on Iranian soil. Domestically, Iran moved its vital military and nuclear infrastructure deep into vast underground mountain facilities, specifically to neutralize the threat of American bunker-buster bombs. They also accepted their technological limitations, rather than trying to buy expensive conventional air forces. Instead, Iran focused entirely on the mass production of cheap, swarming suicide drones and highly accurate cruise missiles. By combining external proxy forces, subterranean bases, and mass-produced drone swarms, Tehran established a layered defense, specifically designed to raise the cost of any direct military intervention. On the financial front, the United States has spent decades applying a strategy of maximum pressure, layering thousands of sanctions to isolate the Iranian economy. In response, Tehran engineered a wartime economy. To prevent internal collapse, the state aggressively domesticated the supply chains of essential goods, ensuring that the regime could maintain basic operations without Western imports.
This diagram illustrates how Iran bypasses the US dollar and the SWIFT banking network. By executing direct barter agreements and currency swaps with Eastern powers like Russia and China, trade continues regardless of the sanctions barrier. The weaponization of the global financial system forced Iran to develop alternative channels for trade. While the population suffers, the state has built the infrastructure needed to maintain its operations regardless of Western isolation. Now, Iran uses its asymmetric resilience to execute a broader grand strategy, driving a diplomatic wedge between the United States and its wealthy Gulf allies. They demonstrate the ability to threaten global economic stability by showing they can easily choke off vital petroleum transit routes, particularly the heavily trafficked Strait of Hormuz. When Iranian proxies strike regional energy infrastructure, it forces nations like Saudi Arabia and the UAE to question whether U.S. security guarantees can actually protect them from local threats. This vulnerability pushes historical U.S. allies to seek independent diplomatic negotiations directly with Tehran, effectively eroding American dominance in the Middle East. Looking at the conflict today, Washington views Iran as a rogue, destabilizing state, an imminent nuclear threat that must be aggressively contained at all costs. Tehran sees a completely different reality. They view themselves as a sovereign nation, successfully executing a self-defense strategy against a superpower that has actively tried to destroy them for 70 years. Caught in the middle of this geopolitical chess match are millions of ordinary Iranians. They are crushed daily, suffering under both the brutal crackdowns of their own regime and the weight of crippling American sanctions. Until one side is willing to acknowledge the historical reality of the other, the United States and Iran remain locked in a perpetual 73-year cycle of mistrust, trauma, and retribution.